Hello again everybody. I know things have been a little bit quiet on my channel lately. It's not because there's not much going on, there certainly is, and I'll have a lot of stuff to share fairly soon as well, and it's going to be Norton themed again, and it'll be very interesting, a lot of it. There'll be some other stuff cropping up as well, but I decided I'm going to do what I did with the red Norton prototype unit twin, and do all the work, make the videos, and then publish them afterwards. It'll just work out better that way. And I'm not going to do any of this jumping in the middle mystery bike stuff either, because that didn't really work too well. But because we've sort of been a bit Norton themed around here lately, I decided it put me in mind of some of my own Norton experiences from quite a few years back actually, which started thanks to my father buying a Norton Navigator 350 when he returned to bikes after doing the sort of getting married and having children stuff and all that, and his kids got a little bit older and he got a nice little motorbike for himself again. Yeah, it was a nice bike, and it still is actually. We've still got it. It still runs. Anyone who wants to see it running, there's footage of it on my channel on YouTube, although not ridden. I just dusted it down and got it started up and running. But anyway, that's on my to-do list if I ever get round to it, to try and return it to the road. But it put me in mind of a couple of bigger Nortons my father bought after it, soon after it. A pair of 650 SS machines. He bought on different occasions from different sellers, but quite close together. One was a sort of Dunstall styled thing with a dolphin fairing on it and the fiberglass Manx style tank, humpback seat, clip-ons, rear sets, all that sort of stuff. The other one was a more standard looking SS, but what he did is he decided he was going to keep one and sell the other, and he mixed and matched bits, and we ended up with the non-Dunstall style one sticking around, but it ended up with the fiberglass tank on it and a BSA Starfire seat, a few other things. Had swept back pipes, Goldie silencers. It made a lovely snarl. And I've actually got one photograph of that bike, and I'll use that as my thumbnail for this video, because I'm going to tell you a little story about that machine. My father used to work away in the Persian Gulf at that time, when I was in my early teens, and what used to happen was he used to work away for 3 months at a time and come home for a month, and then of course by the time he got home excuse me, the Norton 650 SS would have stood idle and wet sumped, and then he'd have to mess about and drain the crankcase, get the oil out, put it back in a tank and so on. And he didn't have a lot of time for doing things like that in his month at home, obviously, because there was all sorts of other things he had to do as well. And so he started asking me if, while he was away from time to time, I could start the 650 SS up every couple of weeks or so and just make sure that the oil stayed in a tank for him when he came home, so he could just jump on it and go for a quick spin if he felt like it. So yeah, that was no problem. I did that, and then it soon sort of dawned on me, if you like, that well, you know, 14-year-old lad kick-starting this brute of a motorbike and running it up in the shed and everything, perhaps I should get some sort of reward for it. And he always had petrol kicking about for the lawnmower, so yeah, why not stick a gallon of petrol into the SS? After getting it started, let's blow the cobwebs away round the back lanes, no one will know. So I started doing that. I started doing a few miles on it and enjoying myself on it, and of course, as youngsters do, you get braver and braver, don't you, and a bit more cheeky and whatever. And I started occasionally, I had a mate the same age as me who lived nearby, and occasionally I said, hop on the back, Kerry, and we'll go for a spin. And of course I got braver and braver and did start going out on the main roads here and there for short bursts and whatever. And I can remember we had the ton out of the thing actually one day on a straight nearby. The straight you'll see in a lot of my videos these days between my place and the roundabout where the burger van lay-by is. Anyway, I digress. I was enjoying myself, and this Norton was pretty good, although it did have a problem with the magneto, in that if you went too far, the magneto would get hot and bothered, and then the thing would start spluttering and conk out soon after, so I think I had about an 8 mile sort of there and back that I could do from home, where it would keep going and get me home. Try and go any further than that and you could be in trouble. Anyway, time sort of marched on, and it wasn't too long before I turned 16 and I got myself a nice little 50cc BSA Brigand, which was very, very easy to de-restrict and make it go pretty fast. But at the time when this happened, I hadn't de-restricted it. It was actually, I think, the first Saturday night after my 16th birthday. I went to a local village sort of dance in a village hall, and I went on my little 50cc bike. And what happened, when it was chucking out time, round about midnight or thereabouts, I started the little bike up round the back of the village hall. I went to ride off and go home, but the police regularly attended the village and the village hall, and just had a nose to see what was going on basically, and who was there, and make sure everyone was behaving. And of course they were there as I was leaving. 2 coppers, one of them shone a torch on me on this 50cc bike, while the other one said, "And what have we got here then? Sonny, the ton-up kid, is it?" And I said, "Well, hardly on this thing." I said, "I'd be lucky to get much more than 35 out of this." To which the other one replied, "Well, where is your father's Norton 650 tonight then, Sonny? We've seen you, and we've seen your mate on the back of it, and stay off the main roads. We know what you're up to, but stay off the main roads." And that was it. They didn't tell me to stop doing it. They didn't drag me into the station and arrest me or anything, and hats off to them, much respect, because it certainly made me sort of wise up and behave myself quite a bit more without the heavy hand of the law coming down on me full force. But I thought it was quite sort of funny to sort of tell them I didn't need my dad's Norton 650 anymore, because I had this BSA 50cc legally on the road, so I didn't need the Norton anymore. But another thing that happened on that Norton actually was there was a girl that used to come and stay in a neighbouring farmhouse in school holidays who I wanted to impress. And so I ended up taking her on the back of this Norton and going on the back lanes towards Llandudry. And again, I think on one of my rides on the Norton prototype, I commented on this as we started going down a steep hill from Porthree towards Llandudry. It's got to be at least half a mile down, if not 3/4 from the top to the bottom. Steep, winding, snaking hill. And basically, we were heading for Llandudry. We were going to go out and meet up with some friends and have a bit of fun, and then ride Dad's bike home again, hopefully, without getting caught. But what happened, the bike started misfiring because the magneto started getting hot and bothered. And by the time we got to the bottom of the hill, the bike stopped and I couldn't start it again. Well, I had a really bright idea that day, because I said to her, between the two of us, we could push the thing back up the hill, all the way to the top, and then it wouldn't be too difficult really to sort of push and freewheel and get it home and so on. So she agreed to help and push the bike all the way up the hill with me. We got to the top, and I had a brilliant, bright idea that, well, it might have cooled down now. We got this big steep hill, let's try and start it. Well, do you know, I rolled it and bumped it all the way down that hill with her on the back, hardly a splutter or a pop or anything, and we got right down to the bottom again. By which point she was crying. So that's the impression I left on her with big motorbikes and me taking her out on them. We left the bike with a kind farmer who lived at the bottom of the hill, walked home. I don't think she was too impressed with that. And at a later date, my father took me down to the farm to pick the bike up where it started first kick, of course, and I rode it home, because it had to cover that distance again, or time or whatever, before the magneto packed up, and it arrived home just as it started spluttering and popping and stalling and whatever. But there we are, just a little Norton anecdote there. Hope I haven't bored the pants off anybody, and there is going to be a lot more happening here soon, but I just thought I'd relate that story while I had it fresh in my mind at the moment. Thank you very much for watching, everybody.